Hey everybody, what's going on? I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins, and welcome to Intellectual Chocolate. This is where we talk about Black issues with Black people who care about the Black community, and it's also the stuff that you don't get to see in mainstream media. Now, as we roll into the conversation, I want to say hello to my brother, Attorney Gerald Griggs, out of Atlanta. Now, Gerald is the criminal justice co-chair of the Georgia NAACP. He's also the vice president of the Atlanta NAACP. So he's out here doing important work and fighting for our community. And I want to ask my brother, how you doing today, man?
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me, Boyce. It's an honor to be with you.
Oh, the honor is all mine, my friend. Now, you brought a case to my attention that I'm ashamed that I didn't know about it. It's the case of Jessie Murray, who was
Yes.
charged with shooting a police officer.
Yes.
Is that what was going on?
Yes. In 2014, Mr. Murray was at a bar in Clayton County called Benefields with his wife. And during the course of being at that bar, he was attacked by four inebriated individuals, one of which was an off-duty police officer. During the course of that altercation, Mr. Murray was able to get away from those individuals and go outside. He went outside, got his weapon, and went back in to go get his wife. Before he was able to get back into the establishment, the four individuals attacked him and viciously beat him to the point he almost lost consciousness. During the course of that altercation, he was able to get his gun and it accidentally went off, killing one of the individuals who was an off-duty police officer. During the course of that, the individuals continued to beat him. They fired 4 shots at him. And then once the police got there, while he was in handcuffs, they punched him again. Now, Mr. Murray was charged with murder and several other counts. None of the individuals who started the fight both times or who fired the shots or who assaulted him in police custody were ever charged with anything. Last year, his legal team, Maya Griggs and no relation, and Miley Davis filed a motion for stand your ground. That was denied by the judge, and he was forced to go to trial. During the course of the proceedings, Miley and Ms. Griggs contacted the NAACP and a lot of other organizations, including the Sister Care Alliance, and they decided we were going to pack the courthouse because given the nature of what's been going on in the criminal justice system, we felt the need to have the entire community there. So we reached out to the community and boy, did they respond. They packed out the courthouse during the stand your ground hearing. They packed out the courthouse during jury selection, and they packed it out for 3 days, which ultimately led the district attorney to make the decision to dismiss the murder counts against Mr. Murray because it was determined by the evidence he was simply defending himself. He did enter a plea agreement on the possession of a firearm and will get some probation, but he was facing a life sentence plus 25 years. And it just goes to show when the community comes together, especially in cases like this, where you have the underlying hint of racism in all the charging and what happened. When they come together and align around this, we can actually change the course of a case. It's one of the first cases in Georgia where a person was charged with shooting a police officer and that person ended up dying, that the person actually ended up not being convicted of murder. So Jesse is definitely profoundly happy about the outcome. He wants to turn his life into being an activist for other individuals. And he's just excited to be home with his family. And I'm just happy that the community showed up the way they know how to show up. And I think this is a symbol to the rest of the community with all of these police involved shootings going on, from Sandra Bland to Mike Brown to Philando, which still hurt my heart right now, to Walter Scott. We have to start packing these courtrooms. We have to start showing the criminal justice system that we're not going to stand for any injustice. And I think that's how we send a message. People are always saying, well, what can we do? We marching, we protesting. Go be present where justice is being meted out. Go pack courthouses. Go send a message to the district attorney. Send a message, a peaceful message to the judge. If you remember that movie, A Time to Kill, they surrounded the courthouse. It was thousands of people there. I think if we do things like that in the next police involved shooting, like what happened to Mr. Crutcher, I think we're going to get a different result because they're going to see we're present and we're not standing for any more injustice.
Well, I showed everybody the picture just now as you were speaking. I was showing them the pictures of Jesse as a result of the altercation. It looks like he wasn't exactly anybody's. It wasn't exactly like he was dealing with some innocent victims here.
Mhm.
And that's kind of what I'm sure they want to speak a narrative to say that, oh, well, this vicious black man attacked me and all this other stuff, but it doesn't look like he was the only one involved in this altercation. So, and you said they fired 4 shots at him, so he was in fear of his life.
Yes,
That
and
they were trying to murder him in
yeah,
there. Is that
they were trying to kill Jesse, and they were trying to harm his wife. And so in Georgia, we have stand your ground, and you can defend yourself by threatening or either using deadly force to the extent necessary to protect you and another person. So it seemed obvious to me, as a lawyer in practice for 12 years, tried hundreds of cases, that this was a case where stand your ground applied. But of course, the judge decided otherwise. And so we took it to trial. And I'm so happy for his legal team. I'm happy for the community that this ended in a positive way, especially in the wake of Philando Castile and all of the others, Walter Scott and Freddie Gray. It showed the community that if we respond in a peaceful manner, but in a manner that shows, look, judges work for us, district attorneys work for us, police officers work for us, and if we hold them accountable at the place, at that courthouse door, from every single day of trial, being present, saying we're not going to stand for it, I think that we can cause change, and I think that's what happened in this case.
Well, everybody who just tuned in, I want you to know I'm talking to Attorney Gerald Griggs. Gerald is the Vice President of the Atlanta NAACP and the Criminal Justice Co-Chair of the Georgia NAACP. And we're talking about the case of Jessie Murray. Jessie was charged with, let me ask you this, but was he charged with murder? Is that?
Yeah, he was charged with premeditated first-degree murder.
Premeditated first-degree murder in the shooting of a police officer. And the situation, it appears, based on what I'm seeing and what I've read, that there was a definitely reasonable doubt. There's definitely a stand your ground situation where he was defending his life. He was defending his spouse. Now, let me ask you this. First of all, how old is Jessie Murray?
Jesse's in his 30s. He's a relatively young man. He comes from a great family. He had no prior criminal history whatsoever. And I mean, he was basically a great member of the community. He was just trying to have a nice outing out with his wife. And these individuals felt the need to accost him, to assault him. And then it just continued on in the process, in the criminal justice process. But ultimately, again, the citizens stood up, and we saw a different result once they stood up.
Wow. So was there, what does race play a role in this case, in your opinion? Because a lot of us are used to the black man versus, white police officers kind of scenario, but I know in Georgia it can be complicated. Sometimes the police officer's black too. Where does race kind of come into all of this?
Well, again, Jesse and his wife were black. The 4 individuals were white. The deceased was white, and he was an off-duty police officer. So it's definitely that dynamic going on. And it's our hope that we can make the criminal justice system become colorblind, but I'm realistic. I know, in fact, that, especially here in Georgia, sometimes justice is not blind. But in areas like Metro Atlanta, where, there are a lot of concerned African Americans who want to see justice, I think we can force the system to do appropriate, racially neutral justice. And I think that's what happened. So again, the case was Jesse, as a black man, shooting a white man who happened to be a police officer, and then being charged with murder while, several, including the deceased, white individuals assaulted him.
Wow. So, what's been, at what point was this verdict announced, out of curiosity? I told you I'm ashamed that I didn't know more about the case.
Wednesday evening.
Okay. And so, how's the family doing? How's Jesse doing?
Jesse's doing great. I talked to him on Thursday. He's doing great. He's more resolved to get out in the community and let his story be told. He wants to be an activist. He wants to use the platform that this case has given him to teach other communities how you can stand up for your rights and how you can bring the community together in these difficult times. So he's doing well. He comes from a great family. They were behind him every step of the way. Again, he had a great legal team. Miley Davis from the Davis Bozeman law firm, and Maya Griggs did a phenomenal job, and all the community organizers did a great job. The Clayton County NAACP, the Georgia NAACP, the Sister Care Alliance with Nia Walker and Nana Paris. It's some great organizers down here, and we just want to replicate that organizing and that legal strategy around the country, with lawyers coming together with community organizations to send a message to the criminal justice system, especially in the era of Trump and the era of Jeff Sessions, that our communities will not stand by and allow you to come in and destroy our communities under the guise of law and order.
Well, everybody, I want you to know I'm talking to Attorney Gerald Griggs about the case of Jessie Murray. I'll say this, I think that when you look at the criminal justice system and you just sort of see just how cops are able to murder Black men with impunity, most of the time without even getting indicted, and definitely without being convicted, it's an incredible slap in the face, but yet a reminder of the country that we live in. But then also what's fascinating, not even in a very negative way, shockingly fascinating or sadly fascinating, if you will, is the fact that on the flip side of things, when it comes to just basic things like self-defense, I don't think that Black people have ever felt that we have the right to self-defense. We've never had that. We've never had, there's even Tupac. I remember, I don't know if you remember a song he had called "Only God Can Judge Me." There's a part of the song where he says, "There's no such thing as self-defense in the court of law." And even Ice Cube said once, "I'd rather be judged by 12 than carried by 6." And it's kind of like this understanding that as a Black man, you don't have a right to self-defense. You don't have a right to stand your ground. You can't say, "Well, my life was in danger." But you see so many cases where a Black man was murdered, and all the white guy has to say is, "Well, I felt like my life was in danger." And then they show a picture maybe with the kid with a blunt in his mouth, or wearing, with tattoos on his arms, and they'll say, "Oh, well, he looks dangerous. He looks like a thug." And so it just makes you feel hopeless, And so I'm curious, in the legal community, what's the conversation in terms of what we can do to kind of remedy this injustice, other than burning things down and fighting people? I mean, because I don't know what else there is that can be done. I know you said pack the courthouse, and I love the fact that it works. And what I want to encourage everybody to listen to do is do what he's saying. Go, pack the courthouse. When the case happens in your city, pack the courthouse. But I remember, when we were fighting for Judge Olu Stevens down in Louisville, Kentucky, I went down there to protest on his behalf because he was one of the few judges that spoke up against the use of all white juries to convict Black defendants. Yes. And I remember feeling like, wow, these sons of bitches are not going to listen to anything that we have to say. They will be defiant. They will. It's almost as if they will issue a ruling in defiance of what everybody wants, just to show you who's in charge. Yeah. What do you think about that? What are some ways that we as a community can really challenge some of this?
Yeah, and I love Judge Olu. I mean, he said what a lot of us were thinking in the community, and I commend him for standing up. Here's what our community needs to do, and it's more than just packing the courtroom, because the point of packing the courtroom was to show the jury the community is behind this young man and wants to see justice, and we are watching you. So it's not like you're behind a television screen where they don't get to show you who the jurors are. We see you. We know who you are. And we want you to know the consciousness of the community is looking at this. But it also serves as a civics lesson to our people that we need to serve on juries. We need to stop trying to get out of jury service, because ultimately 12 people make the decision in the criminal justice system. And yes, the system has its challenges, and in some respects it's broken. But the way we fix it is that we become one of those 12 people that's sitting on that jury. And how we do that is by voting, is by being registered to vote, but also taking that most honored of American traditions, serving on a jury. Because listen, your vote doesn't matter proportionally when you're voting in an election as much as it does on a jury. One vote can change the course of a case. And that's what we got to understand. And that's where the change is. If we start serving on these juries, which Mr. Murray's jury was 10 African Americans, 1 Latino, and 1 Asian. It was a predominantly minority jury, and they talked to the jurors afterwards, and they were going to cut it loose. If you understand that, and we start preventing all white juries by being present, by not getting up in jury service, and I heard this so many times, man, I can't serve on the jury, bro, because I can't be fair. Oh, you can be fair. You can say, I will make my decision based on the law and based on the facts. You're not supposed to set aside your opinions or your beliefs. You're just supposed to judge it based on the facts and the law. If we can start saying that, we'll start serving on juries, and then we'll start holding this system accountable. And that's the key, because I promise you, I hear it all day long. I could ask somebody and they say, I never had a bad experience with a police officer, and they make it on the jury. But we as African Americans, we'll say, man, I had a bad experience yesterday with a police officer. Okay, that was yesterday. Today is, can you give a fair trial to the state and the defendant? You should be able to say yes, and that should be the truth. And then you can serve on a jury. And I promise you, if we got rid of jurors that didn't reflect our peers, we can have equitable justice. That's my belief. That's why I became a lawyer. That's why I looked up to lawyers like Johnny Cochran and Thurgood, because they worked in the system to change the system. And I truly believe we can change this system. We can change the laws that they're handing down, and we can interpret the laws that the way they need to be interpreted, so we can send some police officers that are killing innocent, unarmed African-American males to prison. Because let me get something straight. I got family and friends that are police officers. I like the police, okay? 90% of them. But the 10% that are terrorizing our communities, that are committing atrocities that end in death, need to spend the rest of their life in prison. That's how the law is. It's not about Blue Lives Matter. It's about the law mattering. If you murder in cold blood, I don't care how afraid you are, you deserve a life sentence.
Well, you know what? I agree with you 100%. You know, my father was a cop, and for 25 years. And so I will never hate all cops. I can't do it because I don't hate my dad, you know, but at the same time, that corruption is real. And I'm glad we have attorneys like you out here fighting, because you got too many people graduating from law school looking for the big paycheck, but they're not looking for the big reward for the community. So I want to say thank you for your service, Attorney Griggs. We really appreciate everything you're doing.
Yeah. And I just want all your listeners to realize we can change this system if we join together with the lawyers and the community groups. We start packing these courthouses. We start showing up for jury service like we show up for everything else. And then we hold the judge, we hold the DA, and we ultimately hold the system accountable. We can do this together. We stand on the shoulders of giants. You know, it's been 150 years since slavery. We've had an African-American president who I know a lot of people say, well, you know, he didn't do okay, but he showed the way. Now we're here. We got to protect our communities, protect our children, but more so, we got to make sure that this system is not getting away with the mass killing of unarmed African Americans. And the way we do it is just like we did it in Jessie Murray case.
All right. Well, everybody go look up the Jessie Murray case, and also look up Attorney Gerald Griggs with the Atlanta. He's vice president of the Atlanta NAACP, and he's the criminal justice co-chair of the Georgia NAACP, and he's a freedom fighter. You know, he's the kind of lawyer I respect. When I gave a keynote at the National Black Law Student Association conference a few years ago, Charles Ogletree was there, and a lot of these young Black lawyers were there. And one of the things I just really felt compelled to tell them, and I have to say this quick because I actually have this person, I have another meeting that's supposed to happen. But I just told them, I said, you know, what are you here for? Why do you exist? You know, do you exist to be a paper pusher at a big white law firm where you ain't doing nothing that matters to nobody? Or are you here to make a difference? Now, it doesn't mean you can't make your money. Go get your bread. But after you go get your bread, think about more than just stacking up paper for yourself. Figure out how you're going to help the people that built you, you know, help defend the community that matters to you, because some of our greatest defenders in the community are our attorneys. And if all of our attorneys are all spending their time, you know, focused on bullshit, then that doesn't help anybody. So I want to say thank you, and thank you for being patient with my incredibly inarticulate assessment of what you do, man. But I respect you, brother, and I'm gonna bring you back when we get a longer chance to talk, man. And any other cases that come up, feel free to use me as a resource. I'll be more than happy to share this with people, because I do believe that when we come together, we can make things happen. So thank you, brother.
I appreciate that, brother. Thank you for using your platform. And to the young law students, tell them this: there are giants in the field, like Billy Murphy out in Baltimore, who represent the community. I had the wonderful time sitting down with him. He said, you can represent the community and the community will take care of you. So again, you don't have to work for a huge law firm to make a difference or to be comfortable. But what you need to do is be responsible to your community and give back to your community, because that is what got you where you are. You didn't get there by yourself. It was lawyers and engineers and doctors and regular people that built the platform for us to achieve where we are now. Now it's time for us to give back. So that's what I would tell the young lawyers. Love your platform, man. If anybody wants to get in touch with me, you can get me on all social media at Attorney Griggs. And thank you, Boyce, for the things you're doing in the community.
Oh, thank you, brother. Thank you. It's an honor and a pleasure. All right, everybody. Well, thanks for hanging out here with us today for Intellectual Chocolate. Make sure you subscribe. Go to intellectualchocolate.com and subscribe. You'll not just be subscribed to the podcast, but you also get a free wealth building class, wealth building lesson. You can be part of our Black Family Wealth Building Pledge that we put together. We're getting as many families as possible to pledge to teach their children the basics of wealth and to make wealth building a part of your family culture. Also, don't forget, I'll be in Philadelphia July 7th that weekend. So you can check that out at drboycephiladelphia.com. And also, don't forget, the All Black National Convention takes place September 29th through October 1st. That's in Louisville, Kentucky, Simmons College, the 107th HBCU in America, headed by Dr. Kevin Cosby. It's going down. It's going to be amazing. You're going to love it. Thanks again one more time to Attorney Griggs. I appreciate you, brother. And I look forward to talking to you in the future, homeboy.
All right. Thank you, brother.
All right, brother. Talk to you soon, man. All right. Peace.